To be honest, I couldn't get enough of Glacier National Park last summer. I ended up going twice, once around the 4th of July. Then when I saw what it all had to offer, fishing especially, I decided to go back a second time, a little more equipped, this time with a vessel, an inflatable kayak. I could get out on the lakes and get into the fish a little better with some better access. One of the fish I caught on the first trip, I actually didn't know what it was. I had never seen one before. I had to look it up in the fishing regulations, and turned out it was an Arctic grayling. They're pretty cool looking fish. At first, they're kind of gray and bland looking, but then when the sun hits them just right, you see how metallic, colorful, shimmery kind of they really are. And they have these huge dorsal fins like a sail. So I went back with my inflatable kayak. In this video, I take a trip where I actually put the kayak in my pack and do a backcountry overnight permit where I go in up the Hudson Bay drainage and get after the fish that I caught the first time around with a kayak this time. So gear-wise, I brought a telescoping fishing rod. It just makes it a little easier to pack it in the backcountry. A net so you could better handle the trout, tethered of course, otherwise I would definitely drop it in the lake and lose it. And then a little bait puck full of spinners and just a few. Really, I only used one. You might want a few in case you lose one, is about the only reason, but they'll hit on anything. It's such a short open water season in Glacier National Park, and the spawn season is so short that anything you put on the water, they're going to hit it. So you're going to have a great time. You never know what type of adversity you could face in the backcountry, including losing the safety slide on your bear spray. I'm going to be hyper aware of that button and whittle a stick to wedge underneath that, because an accidental discharge, especially in the backcountry, I'll let you fill in the blanks. No, actually, I don't. I lost it. So I assume that's what this is for. I can put another one back here, right? Glad I stopped by. I got safety now for my bear spray. I assume they leave them there in case people lose them. They must have a box full of these things. If not, I'm sorry. At least I didn't end up spraying myself. Some horses are curious or would like some attention. Hey girl. Hey girl. Oh, you want me to ride you, don't you? Or you want some grass? You want some of that fresh good stuff? Yeah? Clean looking grass. Is that the good stuff? Yeah, that's the good stuff. Okay, girl. Did you eat all the good stuff already? Oh, that's a good stuff. You bet. CNP. GNP. Oh, Glacier National Park. Makes sense. Hey, donkey, how about you? What do they call you, 48? Donkey. Yeah, you're dumb. There's 3 major watersheds coming out of Glacier National Park. The one I'm hiking in here goes all the way to Hudson Bay. There's also the Mississippi River drainage and the Columbia River system drainage.
which is why it is extremely important that you have any vessel you're going to take out on the water inspected at one of the park's inspection stations. Even if your inflatable kayak looks clean, or your paddleboard, think it's not a big deal, any piece of sand, seaweed, something you can't even see could be carrying eggs of an invasive species. And just imagine what could happen if that invasive species gets loose in these major watersheds. It could impact all the fisheries of the entire continent. A really wise man told me about a book called The Death and the Life of the Great Lakes. Super interesting read. Talks all about the mussel invasions that have ruined fisheries already in our continent here, and it's highly recommended. I'll put a link to the book down below. I'm still fairly new to trout fishing, but something I learned is it's very important to wet your hands before you handle the fish. If you don't, your dry skin is going to remove a protective coating that trout has, and it's going to get a bacterial infection. Even though you nicely caught and released it, you may have just killed that fish anyways. So wet your hands.
It's a big rainbow. Probably 14, 15.
Rainbow trout are fun to catch. They put up a pretty good fight pound for pound. They're actually non-native to Glacier National Park, which means there's no limits. You can catch and keep as many as you want. So you might be wondering, how did they get into Glacier National Park if they're non-native? And the answer, most likely, is probably somebody brought them in an Nalgene bottle decades ago, thinking that since they were so fun to catch, maybe they would just place them here and make a little rainbow trout fishery for themselves. Back then, they may not have realized the implications that a non-native species in a new environment could have, outcompeting the native species for food and eventually overtaking entirely the lakes and the streams that they were introduced to.
Drop the 4 snips. Nice grayling. Let that guy go. Nothing like smelling like a bunch of fish blood and slime in grizzly country. Look, he came back. See ya. Rookie. Nice rainbow.
So after non-stop catching of trout all day, rainbows, graylings, brook trout, I had to call it quits and get to my campsite. Since a kayak is already heavy enough to pack, I left behind a tent and a sleeping bag and slept in an ultralight setup with just a hammock and a tarp and my warmest layers, merino wool on the bottom, some regular long sleeve shirt and pants on top, and the rain gear, which I of course had to have with me anyways, was my outer layer. It was a bit chilly, but I did sleep through the night. The next morning, I had to head back to the trailhead, and of course, I floated and fished my way out. Got into the fish again, and I kept one for a shore lunch. And on the shore that I picked to have my lunch, I found a giant moose antler. In fact, it was this big. And of course, I left it exactly where I found it so other people can enjoy it in the future. And it would be illegal to pick it up anyways. Grayling are native to North America, mainly Alaska and northern parts of Canada, although there are a couple pockets in Michigan and Montana where they're native to. For the most part, they are non-native and introduced in Montana, and non-native to Glacier National Park as well. I finally decided to call the fishing quits when I dropped my second set of pliers in the lake. So word to the wise, bring a backup set of pliers and bring some string to leash your tools to the kayak so you don't drop them in the lake in the first place. So as I was headed to the campsite where I picked up the trail back out to my Nissan, I started to hear this motor in the background faintly, but it started getting a little louder, and I'm thinking, 12 miles into the backcountry, what kind of motor could there possibly be? Then from the distance, it started to become clear this red helicopter came flying over top of me and landed at the campsite that I was headed towards. So someone, it seemed like, was having an issue. And turns out that someone was a girl. I'm not sure if I can use her name, so I will say Jane. And Jane got really sick overnight. Her husband John was with her as she couldn't keep down any food or water. Got really sick, and John noticed her hand starting to cramp up after a while and decided it was time to press the SOS button on a satellite phone. Luckily, another camper had there with them. The med-evac came, and it was a good med-evac. They said as soon as they got the IV drip in her arm, you could see the life come back into her. They were starting to get pretty worried there for a while, so thank God the satellite phone was there, and it was a good med-evac to get her out. However, the problem was John realized as Jane flew away, she had their car keys. And he also sent most of their food with her, knowing he was already going to have to double up on a lot of gear that he was going to have to pack out by himself now. So I ended up walking out with John. Had a great time, got to know him, chatted. You can talk about a lot on a 12-mile hike. And turns out John's father-in-law, Jane's dad, is getting into coffee roasting, and for helping him out, letting him use my phone at the Canadian border to call her and let her know what was going on and check on her, make sure she was okay. Also, I gave John a ride back to the hotel in Glacier National Park since it was really on the way to my campsite anyways. They were very appreciative of my help. And after I got home, shortly, I got this package in the mail. Lo and behold, it was John and Jane sending me a token of their appreciation and their dad's special roasted coffee, which was absolutely delicious, and a handwritten note letting me know how much they appreciated my help. So this warmed my heart, filled my soul, made my day. Was very happy to help.
So just wanted to say thanks again to John and Jane for sending me this coffee, Alter Ego by the roastery Thou Mayest. And John told me all about his father-in-law when we were hiking out, 12-mile hike. You kind of have a lot of time to talk about stuff. And how he was so enthusiastic about learning how to roast coffee, really dug in and perfected and mastered the science of roasting coffee. Just wanted to say you absolutely nailed it with this one, Alter Ego. Thou Mayest, they're based out of Kansas City, Missouri, and originally I thought that's the only place you could get it. It didn't seem like they shipped state to state when I finished this, and I went online looking to see if I could order some more. But I just checked back again recently, and it looks like I can order and have it shipped right here to my house in Minnesota. So pretty excited about that. Check them out online, thoumayest.com, and order yourself some really high-quality coffee. Also just felt really good to get the handwritten note. Got a little collection of handwritten notes here, so to me that's something that really fills my bucket. This was for my first trip to Glacier this last summer, from Pat and Janet. I met them on the way in to my backcountry hike, and they gave me some bug spray since I forgot mine, loaded up with off. That only made it about the first quarter mile before I was getting carried away by mosquitoes again. Had a head net and long sleeves, fortunately. On Pat and Janet's way out, since they were just doing a day trip or a day hike, they gave me the rest of this bug cream that they got from India, actually. And it's all natural and certified organic. They said I could keep it. Wanted to know how it would work. So what I can tell you is when I got to my camp and I started reading the ingredients of sunflower oil, shea butter, cocoa butter, lavender oil, vanillin, I realized I can't be using this in grizzly bear country. So this ended up going in my food bag and getting hung up in the tree for the entire time that I was out there. But since I got back and don't have to worry about marinating myself for bears, I have used it and it does work great, actually, and it smells good too. And then finally, the last note I have from the backcountry, this was actually in 2018 when I was in Banff National Park. I met Sam, Sharon, and Brandon from San Francisco, and our first night in the backcountry in Banff, they were at the same campsite as me. We woke up to a surprise 8 inches of snow on July 3rd, and they weren't as comfortable hiking when they couldn't see the trail. They didn't really have the navigation confidence as much, so I offered they could come along with me and just follow my route for the rest of the time. They opted to go back to their vehicles, and they actually thought that was a parking ticket in my windshield wiper when I was coming out, and turns out it was just a really nice note from them letting me know if I'm ever in San Francisco, could come hang out, they'd give me a place to stay, and left me all their Instagram tags as well so I could stay in touch with them. So just I think it's a testament to some of the benefits of solo travel, solo hiking. It just gives you, I think, more of a chance to connect with new people. You're more approachable. People see that you're just kind of looking for someone to talk to. I've met a lot of great people just traveling solo, so it's something I would recommend you try. Otherwise, thanks again as always for watching. Stay tuned for the next video. Make sure, like and subscribe. Don't make fun of my pajama pants.